My name is Victoria Hayes, 32 years old, CEO of Novatech Solutions, New York City. But 5 years ago, I was nobody. Worse than nobody. I was the pregnant woman a billionaire threw away, like garbage. His name was Alexander Chase, heir to Chase Industries, worth $3 billion. When I met him, I was 24, working as a junior analyst at a consulting firm. Our companies crossed paths on a project. He noticed me, and honestly, I was flattered. The wedding was huge. 300 guests. Plaza Hotel. My family came from Ohio. Simple people, teachers and nurses. His family, old New York money, real estate moguls. The difference was obvious, but I thought love mattered more. I was wrong. His mother, Margaret Chase, hated me from day one, said I was not good enough, not the right background, not the right connections. Just a girl from Ohio who got lucky. Alexander defended me, at first, but Margaret was relentless, dripping poison every single day. 2 years into the marriage, I got pregnant. We were both thrilled. Alexander told everyone, his first child, an heir. We started planning, nursery colors, baby names. I thought this would finally make Margaret accept me. A grandchild, her blood. I was naive. At 5 months pregnant, things changed. Alexander became distant, cold, started working late, coming home at midnight, smelling like perfume. I asked what was wrong. He said nothing. Work, stress. But I knew something was different, terribly different. One night I heard them, Alexander and Margaret, in his study. I was not supposed to be home. Had a doctor appointment canceled. Came back early. Margaret was saying, "Are you sure it is even yours? Girls like her, they trap rich men, get pregnant on purpose. You should demand a paternity test." I stood outside that door, hand on my pregnant belly, listening to my mother-in-law convince my husband that I was a liar, a gold digger, that our baby might not be his. And the worst part, he was listening, not defending me, just listening. That night at dinner, Alexander barely looked at me. I tried to talk about the baby, about us. He interrupted. "Victoria, we need to discuss something. I want a paternity test. After the baby is born." The fork fell from my hand. "What did you say?" "You heard me. Just to be sure. To be sure of what, Alexander? That I am not lying. That I did not cheat on you. Is that what you think?" His eyes were cold. "I think we should be certain." Margaret sat across the table, smiling, actually smiling. She had won. I stood up, threw my napkin on the table. "Fine, do your test. But know this, Alexander, whatever that test says, we are done. You chose your mother over me, over our child, and that I will never forgive." The next 3 months were hell. Alexander treated me like a stranger, living in the same penthouse, but separate rooms, separate lives. Margaret visited daily, making comments about how I looked, how I dressed, implying things, always implying. I gave birth alone. Alexander was on a business trip, or so he said. My mother flew in from Ohio, held my hand, through 18 hours of labor. When my son was born, I looked at him, perfect, 10 fingers, 10 toes. Alexander's eyes, exactly. Alexander came home 2 days later, did not ask how I was, did not ask to hold the baby, just said, "When can we do the test?" I stared at him. This man I married, who I thought loved me. Now, we can do it now. Get it over with. So we did. Results came back in 3 days. 99.9% match. His son, no doubt. I waited for an apology, for shame, for something. Alexander looked at the paper, looked at me, and said, "Good. That is all. Just good." I snapped. Something inside me just broke. Good. That is all you have to say. You accused me of cheating, of trapping you, of lying about our son. And now, all you can say is good. Get out. What? Get out of this room. I never want to see you again. Alexander left, but came back an hour later with Margaret and a lawyer. They handed me papers, divorce papers. I have decided, Alexander said. This marriage is not working. You can keep the child support, but I want you out. By tomorrow. I could not breathe. You are divorcing me. After humiliating me. After the test proved I was faithful. You are throwing me out. Margaret spoke then. You were never right for this family. This is better for everyone. Take your money and go. Be grateful we are being generous. I looked at the papers. Child support. $5,000 a month. Alimony. Nothing. Because we signed a prenup. I got nothing. From a $3 billion family. Except $5,000. For my son. Their grandson. I laughed. Actually, laughed. You think this is generous? I said. You think I will just take your money and disappear? Yes. Alexander said simply. I looked at him, really looked at him, for the last time. Keep your money, all of it. I do not want a single dollar from you or your family, ever. I packed one suitcase, my clothes, my son's clothes, left everything else, the jewelry, the designer bags, the expensive furniture, all of it. My mother helped me, crying the whole time. We took a taxi to a motel on the edge of Brooklyn, $40 a night. That was my new home. The first month was brutal. My savings ran out fast. Motel, diapers, formula, doctor visits. I found a job, data entry, $15 an hour. Worked from home while my son slept. My mother went back to Ohio. She had to. Her own job, her own life. I was alone. By month 3, we moved to a shelter for women and children in Queens. Shared room, 4 beds. Bathroom down the hall. I was 27 years old, with a degree from Columbia, living in a homeless shelter. With my 3-month-old son, some nights I cried so hard. I thought I would break. But I did not break. I had a son who needed me. I worked 3 jobs. Data entry in the morning, freelance coding at night, weekend consulting. Saved every penny. After 6 months, I had enough for a tiny apartment, studio, in the Bronx, 400 square feet, but it was ours. I taught myself everything I could about tech, about business, about startups, read every book, watched every tutorial, late nights, after my son slept, building skills, building knowledge, building something for us. I had an idea, a software platform for small businesses to manage everything, inventory, accounting, marketing, all in one place. Simple, affordable. I built a prototype. In 3 months, working 16-hour days, living on coffee and determination. Finding investors was impossible. Young single mother, living in the Bronx. No connections, no pedigree. 50 pitches, 50 rejections. But I kept going. Pitch 51, a woman investor named Lisa Chen. She had started from nothing too. She said yes. Lisa invested $250,000 in exchange for 20%. I cried in her office. Actually cried. She smiled and said, "Make me proud." I launched Novatech. 6 months later, my son was 1 year old, walking, talking, watching his mother build an empire. Year 1, we got 50 small business clients, made 200,000 revenue. Year 2, 500 clients, 2 million revenue. Year 3, 1,500 clients, 10 million revenue. I hired a team, 5 people, all women, all single mothers, all fighters. Year 4, major breakthrough. A Fortune 500 company wanted our platform for all their franchises. Nationwide, deal worth 50 million. I was sitting in a boardroom in Manhattan, negotiating millions, while my son was in daycare 3 blocks away. Year 5, Novatech was valued at $800 million. I was on Forbes, 30 under 30. Tech Insider featured my story. From homeless to CEO, I did interviews, always mentioned my son, my reason, my everything. I never talked about Alexander or Margaret or how I got here. Not publicly, but privately. I thought about them every single day, wondered if they knew, if they saw the articles, if they regretted what they did. I hoped they did. Then one day, my assistant brought me a business proposal. Chase Industries wanted a partnership. They were struggling. Bad investments, leadership problems, stock prices dropping. They needed our technology, our platform, to save their franchises. I stared at that name, Chase. I could have said no, rejected it immediately, but something in me wanted to see him, wanted him to see what I had become. Without his money, without his name, without him, I scheduled the meeting in person at their headquarters. I would walk in as the CEO he needed. The morning of the meeting, I dressed carefully. Navy suit, Valentino, red heels, Louboutin, diamond earrings. I earned myself. Hair perfect, makeup flawless. I looked powerful because I was. My son hugged me. Before I left, "Mommy looks pretty. You always look pretty, baby. But today, Mommy looks like she could buy the whole world." I walked into Chase Industries, 52nd floor, Manhattan. Their boardroom, marble and mahogany, views of Central Park. I had been here before, as Alexander's wife, timid, quiet, trying to fit in. Now I walked in, as equals, no, as better. Alexander was already seated, with his leadership team, and Margaret, of course Margaret was there. They looked up. When I entered, Alexander's face went from professional to confused, to shocked, to horrified, in 3 seconds flat. "Victoria," he said, my name, like a question. I smiled, cold, professional. "Alexander, Margaret, thank you for meeting with me. I understand. Chase Industries is facing some challenges. I am here to discuss how Novatech can help or not, depending on this conversation." Margaret found her voice first. You are the CEO of Novatech." "I am. Since day 1, built it from nothing, while raising my son, alone." "You remember my son, your grandson, the one you said might not be Alexander's. My voice was ice. Alexander tried to speak. Victoria, I held up my hand. No, you do not get to explain. You do not get to apologize. You threw me out, pregnant, broke, with nothing, because your mother convinced you I was a gold digger. Well, look at me now. Am I still a gold digger, Alexander? Or did you just throw away the best thing that ever happened to you? The room was silent. His team, staring at their hands. Margaret, face red, furious but silent. Alexander, looking at me, like he was seeing me. For the first time, Victoria, I had no idea about your company, your success. If I had known, stop. If you had known what? That I was worth something, you would have treated me better. That is the problem, Alexander. I was always worth something. You just never saw it. Because your mother told you I was not, and you believed her over me. Your wife, the mother of your child. I opened my briefcase, pulled out the proposal. Novatech can save. Chase Industries. Our platform, your franchises, would be a perfect fit. But there are conditions. I slid the document across the table. Read it carefully. Alexander picked it up, started reading. His face changed, line by line. Victoria, these terms are very unfavorable to us. I know you want 60% of profits from the partnership. Yes, that is outrageous. Is it? Because without me, you have nothing. Margaret stood up. This is ridiculous. We will find another solution. Please do. I stood up too. There are exactly 3 companies in the country who can do what we do. At our level, 2 of them already declined your proposal. I am your last option. So you will take my terms, or you will fail. Choose. Alexander looked at his team, at the numbers, at the reality. They needed me more than I needed them, and he knew it. We accept. Good. My lawyers will send the contracts. One more thing. What? I want you both at the contract signing, Margaret and you, in person. Why? Because I want you to sign away 60% of your profits to the woman you threw away like trash. The contract signing was 2 weeks later. Same boardroom. My lawyers, their lawyers, Alexander, Margaret, and me. I brought my son, 5 years old, in a tiny suit. He sat next to me, playing on his tablet. Alexander kept staring at him. His son, who looked exactly like him, who he had never met. Before we signed, I spoke. Alexander, do you know your son's name? He hesitated. No, his name is Julian. Julian Alexander Hayes. I gave him your middle name because despite everything, he deserved to know where he came from, even if where he came from did not want him. Alexander's eyes filled with tears. Can I meet him? Why? He is my son. No, I said firmly. He is my son. You gave up that right 5 years ago when you chose your mother's lies over your family. Julian does not need a father who doubted him before he was even born. Margaret tried to speak. Victoria, please. He is our grandson. Now you care. I looked at her, really looked at her. You destroyed your son's family because I was not good enough for you, because my parents were teachers, not moguls. You taught him that love does not matter, that loyalty does not matter. Only money. Only status. Well, now I have both. And you still have nothing I want. We signed the contracts in silence. Alexander's hand shook when he signed away 60%. To me, when it was done, I stood up, picked up Julian. Thank you. For your business, I will make sure this partnership is very successful. For Novatech, Alexander stood too. Victoria, wait. Can we talk? Privately. No. Everything that needed to be said was said 5 years ago when you put me on the street. But I was wrong. Yes, you were. And now you have to live with that choice every single day, just like I did. I walked toward the door. Julian waved at them. Bye, he said cheerfully, having no idea these people were his family, his father, his grandmother, and they waved back, tears on both their faces. Good. Let them cry, like I cried in that shelter 5 years ago. The partnership made Novatech $1.2 billion. Within a year, Chase Industries stabilized, but I never forgot what they did. Every quarterly meeting, I showed up powerful, successful, with my son, who looked more like Alexander. Every year, people asked me why I was so harsh, why I did not forgive, why I did not let Alexander meet his son, and I told them, forgiveness is earned, not demanded. He threw away a pregnant woman because he was weak and believed lies over truth. That is not a mistake. That is a choice, and choices have consequences. I gave him a chance to be a father, to be a husband. He chose his mother instead. Now he gets to watch from the outside what he could have had. That is his consequence, and I have no sympathy for men who abandon pregnant women because someone told them to. Today, Julian is 6 years old, happy, loved, smart as anything. He asks about his father. Sometimes I tell him the truth, age-appropriate version. Your father and I were not good together, but I loved you. From the second, I knew you existed, and that is enough. Is Daddy a bad person? He asked once. No, baby. He is just a person who made a bad choice and never fixed it. Will he ever fix it? I do not know. That is up to him. Julian thought about it, then said, I am glad I have you, Mommy. You are the best. And just like that, the conversation was over. Kids are simple. They just want to be loved. Everything else is adult complication. As for Alexander, I heard he divorced 2 years after me, married someone else, someone Margaret approved of, someone with the right background. They have no children. I heard she cannot have them. Margaret is dying now. Cancer. 6 months left. She wrote me a letter asking to meet Julian before she dies. I have not decided yet. Part of me says no. She does not deserve to meet him after what she did. But another part thinks about Julian growing up and asking, did I have a grandmother? Why did I never meet her? I do not know what the right answer is. Maybe there is not one. All I know is this. I survived. I built something from nothing. I proved them wrong every single day, and that is enough. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear that you can survive anything. That being thrown away does not mean you are worthless. It means they could not see your value. Subscribe to Story Nation for more stories about real survival. real strength, and real triumph. See you in the next one.